Preparing for an interview might actually help you discover yourself in terms of doing introspection and maybe understand yourself better. How would you react in different situations? Or how can you respond better to some questions that an interviewer might ask in an interview so that you can showcase the most representative answer for yourself? Hi, my name is Cornelia. I work with Talent Acquisition and I usually post here videos about corporate environments, what to say, not to say in job interviews, how you can respond to different interview questions, how to build your CV, etc. And in today's video, I wanted to speak with you about how you can actually discover yourself while you are preparing for an interview. And first of all, I wanted to start by addressing this thing because there are a lot of people that are saying that preparing answers for an interview is inauthentic. The questions that a normal interviewer asks in an interview is to get to know yourself as a candidate. And if you don't know yourself well enough to be spontaneous and to know how to respond better to that specific question, most likely your answer won't be representative for yourself, or you just don't know how to react or how to respond to that specific question. In my first job interview, I was asked, what are my weaknesses? I didn't know what to answer because I do have a good opinion of myself and I couldn't think of weaknesses that I have that could impact my performance at work. Another question that I was asked in an interview, and it was very baffling for me, is why should we hire you? If you think about this question, you were selected to go to that specific interview because you met a specific profile that the company is looking for. And at the same time, all of the other candidates that were selected to have the same interview as you meet the same profile. So what actually makes you different from the other candidates? If you can think about an answer before going there and also having all of these emotions of being in an interview, how can you actually answer to this question? And also have an answer that could make you differentiate yourself from other candidates. Another question is, tell me something about yourself that is not written in your resume. What should you answer? Should you tell them about the volunteering program that you've done in university like 10 years ago? Or should you tell them about your family? Should you tell them about your hobbies? What will be the right answer? Or what will be the things that it will be most representative for you to tell in that specific interview so you can present yourself in a favorite light and present some things about yourself that will be actually a plus in your personality, skills, experience, etc. for that specific role? How would you deal with a conflict at work? How can you respond to this question if you never dealt with a conflict at work? I mean, what are you going to tell? You are going to speak with your manager about the conflict, or you are going to talk with your colleague about that specific conflict and try to resolve it by yourself, or are you going to go to the HR and tell them to resolve the conflict? How would you react in this situation if you've never were put in this situation before? Another question, what can you tell me about yourself, or can you give me a brief description about yourself? What are the information that you should put here? Are there information about your childhood, about your family, work experience that you had 15 years ago that is not even related to the industry or to the job that you are applying in that specific moment? So if you can't ask yourself these questions prior to the interview and draft in your head some answers that can help you know yourself better, you can't ace interviews. I'm sorry to break it down to you, but this is the truth. You need to know yourself as well as you can, so you can showcase all of the skills and all of the things that are representative for you and that can help you present yourself in a favorable light in an interview. Let's think about the weaknesses questions. What are your weaknesses? I personally think that I don't have any weaknesses at work. Of course, I have flaws and I have weaknesses in my personal life, but I don't show them in my professional life. Of course, if I need to work with someone that is not the best person to work with, I go outside, I try to calm myself down, and then I go back in the office and work and do the job. If I am stressed about a specific deadline, I'm trying to do my work as best as I can so I can have a good performance and fulfill my task in that specific tight deadline. But because I know that most of the people need to answer to these questions, I starting and thinking about it, and I figured out the fact that I am, or more specifically I was, a people pleaser. I had a lot of situations where I put my colleagues' problems first and not my own responsibilities, and because of that I didn't have the time to resolve my own problems and resolve my own activities at work. And this is something that stressed me out a lot and made me work overtime because I helped my colleagues first and then I did my job second, and I didn't have the right amount of time in that day to do my own job. And while I was thinking about this thing about being a people pleaser, I thought about myself, okay, why I'm still doing it? I mean, I should have just stopped doing this and prioritize the activities that I'm actually responsible for. And this helped me a lot in not doing this thing anymore, not prioritize the work of my colleagues when they're asking for my help, and prioritize the things that I'm actually responsible for and the things that I actually need to do to get paid. The question about the conflict with a coworker. And I thought about it because I never had a conflict, right? So what should I do? I don't have the experience of dealing with a conflict with a coworker because I was never in a conflict with a coworker. But when I'm thinking about it, most likely my first thing won't be to firstly go to the HR or to my manager, because this is not in line with my brand. My brand is that I'm responsible and I have ownership of my activities. This means that I have ownership of my relationship as well as with my colleague, and I'm responsible of having a good relationship with them. This means that first of all, and my first step will be to try to resolve the conflict by myself by talking directly with the colleague that I will have that specific conflict with. So if I'm asked this question in an interview, now after having this introspection on how would I react in that specific situation, I can tell them that first I'll talk with the person and try to resolve the conflict by ourselves and not escalate it to the manager or to the HR. Of course, if the conflict cannot be managed between me and the colleague that I have the conflict with, most likely we will move forward and ask for the help of our manager or the help of HR to try to solve it somehow. Because having a conflict in your team is actually not the best thing if you want to have a performant team in general or be performant in that specific team. Another example that I have here will be about the activities that you are doing at your work. And this is something very important because usually most of us, we are doing more than just the things that we were hired for. In every interview, if you mentioned that you were doing extra stuff and that you are open to do extra stuff beside your day-to-day activities, this is always a plus because a lot of companies would like for you to have other experiences as well and to be able to do other things as well besides your normal job or your day-to-day responsibilities. In my case, I'm a recruiter. I recruit people. So yeah, I do sourcing, I held interviews, I evaluate candidates, and if they are okay, I extend them an offer. But if I'm thinking about my own experience and the experience that I gained, this is not the only thing that I've done. I held trainings for my colleagues. I held presentations about subjects that I think that are important in terms of health, sport, etc. I've also organized events and held training sessions for the people that were visiting us in that specific event. And I've organized a lot of team building activities and a lot of activities for my team. I was the one that was doing the reservation. I was the one that was asking everyone what they would like to do, etc., etc. So I had a lot of other responsibilities and I've done a lot of things that are not really in my job description. If you are asked to describe your day-to-day activities in an interview, you can actually tell them about all of the other extra stuff that you've done, not only about the activities that are within your box that you were put by your company to do every day. If I were asked this question in an interview, most likely I will tell them what I do as a recruiter and what is in my day-to-day responsibilities, because most of the times I actually forget about other things that I've done, 2 to 3 years ago, or things that I've done for a brief period of time 1 year ago. And if I don't think about it, if it's not remembered and have it in my working memory, most likely I can't tell all of these extra things in a job interview because I don't remember them. So yeah, preparing for an interview with this question in mind will help me remember all of these informations about my experience and other things that I've done beside my normal day as being a recruiter and recruit people for the company that I'm working for. So preparing for an interview will help you a lot in getting to know yourself better because it will help you do all of these introspection exercises. How would you react in a specific situation? Or what would you do? Or what have you done in that specific situation before? Or what are the things that are representative for you? Yeah, if a person is asking about your strengths, what are the strengths that you can choose from all of the strengths that you have that will be the most representative for you? So the interviewer can have an answer from your side that will make you differentiate yourself from other candidates. Preparing for an interview is not inauthentic. It's something that will help you discover yourself better and prepare some answers and some information that you can share about yourself in an interview that are representative for you and that will make you get that specific job. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.